If you have stress in your life, you might have high cortisol too. And if you have high cortisol, it could be making you gain weight, lose energy, or get sick. If you think cortisol is sabotaging your health, keep watching because in this video, I'm going to show you 5 ways you can lower cortisol levels using functional medicine. Despite what you may have heard, cortisol, your chronic stress hormone, is not always the enemy. When cortisol is being produced at appropriate times and amounts, it's actually your friend. Cortisol activates your immune system, plays an important role in your sleep cycle, and calms inflammation, but only in the short term. When cortisol stays too high for too long, it raises blood glucose, keeps you in fat storage mode instead of fat loss mode, interferes with the function of your thyroid hormones, triggers estrogen detox problems, and over time makes a mess of your immune system, circadian rhythm, and metabolism. Chronically high cortisol also causes symptoms of anxiety and depression, chronic fatigue and pain, heart palpitations, weight gain, and cognitive issues. At high levels, cortisol is definitely the enemy. And because so many people have unavoidable stress in their lives, high cortisol is very common. Even if you're not mentally or emotionally stressed, physical stressors like infections, autoimmunity, hormone imbalance, and blood sugar problems can trigger the release of too much cortisol as well. The stress response system, or HPA axis, treats all stress the same. So even if you don't feel stressed, you could be cranking out a whole lot of cortisol. How can you tell if you have high cortisol? Some people think that certain symptoms like cortisol face or belly fat or stretch marks are dead giveaways that cortisol levels are elevated. But it's trickier than that. These very same symptoms can be associated with lower than optimal levels of cortisol as well. If that wasn't confusing enough, you can have high free cortisol and low total cortisol. And don't even get me started on cortisone. Thankfully, there are at-home testing kits that you can use to get some real measurable data about your cortisol levels. And if you've been trying cortisol-lowering strategies with little to no results for some time, it's a smart idea to test. I'll put a link in the video description with more info about how you can order your own cortisol test kit, and I'll even help you interpret the results. So be sure to check that out at the end of the video. So how do we lower cortisol to friendly levels? Here are 5 science-based functional medicine strategies to do just that. Number 1, eat protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Since cortisol is released in response to blood sugar spikes and crashes, eating foods that encourage steady blood sugar levels helps reduce cortisol. Protein, healthy fats, and fiber act as extended-release nutrition by slowing the breakdown and absorption of fuel, leveling out spikes and crashes caused by things like processed carbs and sweetened foods. This means less demand for insulin and therefore less demand for cortisol. This is especially important if you struggle with the dreaded 3 a.m. wake up, when you find yourself wide awake for no reason in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep. Often, this happens because your blood sugar crashed or spiked while you were asleep, and your HPA axis triggered a burst of cortisol in response, disrupting your normal circadian rhythm. I've found that eating a balanced dinner, including plenty of proteins, fats, and fiber, or even a bedtime snack, like an apple with nut butter or some hummus and veggies, helps to even out your blood sugar and minimize sleep disruptions. Number 2, reduce caffeine. When cortisol is poorly balanced and chronic stress is high, energy levels tend to suffer. Morning grogginess, general fatigue, and difficulty concentrating can all be symptoms of high cortisol, which makes it easy to reach for coffee or other caffeinated beverages to get through the day. But caffeine directly causes adrenal cells to make more cortisol, as well as other stress hormones, creating a cycle of physical chronic stress and dependence. Reducing your caffeine intake or cutting it out altogether for a time helps break the cortisol spiral and actually helps give you better, more stable energy. It also helps improve sleep quality, which boosts cognitive function, motivation, and mood. If quitting caffeine cold turkey sounds like a recipe for disaster, try drinking a mix of decaf and caffeinated coffee for a few weeks to wean yourself down. Or switch to green tea, which still has a little caffeine, but also contains beneficial anti-inflammatory compounds that may help lower your cortisol levels. Dandelion or chicory coffee takes some getting used to, but is another good option, as are coffee-like drinks made from adaptogenic mushrooms. I'll put a link to some suggested high-quality alternatives in the free cortisol-lowering checklist that I made for this video. You'll find the link to grab a copy of the download in the video description. Number 3, take a high-quality fish oil. Omega-3 fatty acids play many important roles in the body and brain. Fish oil has been shown to lower cortisol, reduce inflammation, and help support healthy neurotransmitter function. A 2021 randomized controlled trial found that just 1.25 grams a day of supplemental omega-3 for 4 months significantly reduced cortisol levels and inflammation during times of stress and enhanced repair mechanisms during recovery. Specifically, it helped the subject's telomerase activity, which reduces aging and improves overall longevity. It might seem basic, but omegas are integral to each and every cell of your body, and sometimes all it takes to shift away from high inflammatory stress to healing. But it's really, really tough to get enough of omega-3s in your diet alone unless you're eating fatty fish 5 times a week. I'm talking about sardines, mackerel, and salmon, not a can of light tuna or some tilapia fillets. And be careful about sourcing, both for the fatty fish on your plate and fish oil supplements, since toxins and heavy metals tend to accumulate in fat. You can find my favorite fish oil supplements in the downloadable checklist. And when you place an order through my Fullscript dispensary, you'll get a really nice discount. Number 4, tone your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve, also known as cranial nerve 10, is the information superhighway that signals from your brain to your organs and back again. It acts as a thermostat for organ regulation, both commanding and controlling digestive function, immune function, inflammation, blood pressure, hormone regulation, and your stress response. If you have poor vagus nerve tone, you're likely living most of your life in a sympathetic dominant fight or flight state. That means lots of cortisol over a long time. If you're struggling with weight gain or weight loss resistance because of high cortisol, improving the function of your vagus nerve is even more important because it's a crucial part of the GLP-1 signaling pathway, which helps regulate satiety. GLP-1, or glucagon-like peptide 1, is a compound that is made in your gut or gastrointestinal tract when you eat. GLP-1 communicates to the brain via the vagus nerve, telling you when you've had enough to eat. That's how GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic and Mounjaro, as well as natural GLP-1 boosting agents like berberine, can help decrease appetite and food cravings and lose body fat. But because of the role of the vagus nerve in communicating satiety, even if you're making plenty of GLP-1, you're not getting the full weight loss benefits without healthy vagus nerve function. There are many strategies you can use to tone or stimulate your vagus nerve, including diaphragmatic breathing techniques, humming, singing, and chanting, and even gargling. I have another video all about the vagus nerve that you can check out once we're done for more details. I'll be sure to cue it up for you so that it plays right after this video. Number 5, try adaptogens. 3 of my favorite adaptogenic herbs for lowering cortisol are ashwagandha, holy basil, and bacopa. You've probably heard of ashwagandha before. It has lots of studies on lowering anxiety, calming the brain, normalizing cortisol, and boosting brain function in the face of stress. It also inhibits acetylcholinesterase, which helps preserve memory, making it an excellent choice if you're noticing cognitive issues when you're stressed. Holy basil is another adaptogenic herb with a normalizing effect on the central nervous system. It also helps lower blood sugar levels, which is important because high cortisol causes insulin resistance, which raises blood sugar, causing an increase in body fat and inflammation. Bacopa also works on memory processing and cognition and is a powerful antioxidant protecting sensitive cells from inflammatory damage, which is one of the most common causes of chronic stress and cortisol dysregulation. I love working with adaptogens for lots of reasons. They're really safe, they have an exponential benefit when taken in combination, and they're normalizing. I call them Goldilocks herbs because whether your cortisol is too high or too low, adaptogens help bring them back to just right. You don't have to worry about driving cortisol too far in one direction with adaptogens, so they're ideal if you're all over the place with symptoms. I love adaptogens and recommend them all the time, but they can be tricky. You have to use the correct part of the plant at the correct concentration with the correct extraction technique and the correct dose. You get the idea, right? The quality of the product really, really matters here. So if you've tried these friendly herbs before and didn't get the results you expected, it would be worth trying a higher quality product or blend. You can find links to my favorites in the free download. Be sure to take advantage of that discount too. I'll put the link in the video description for you. The symptoms of high cortisol can be anywhere from annoying to downright scary, but there are proven steps you can take to both assess and address high cortisol. If this feels like the tip of the iceberg and you want a more in-depth explanation and more specific strategies for dealing with cortisol, be sure to check out my Stress Smarter mini workshop. You can find it in my exclusive members video library. If you're not a member yet, just tap the join button to get signed up. New video tutorials drop each month. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found the strategies in the video and the resources in the video description helpful. As promised, I've got another video all lined up for you, so be sure to stick around for that. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.